Hi there, and welcome to this introduction to BrainHQ. Today we are going to be going over the first-time user experience. This is an experience that new users will go through when they sign up for BrainHQ for the first time. One quick thing that I do want to note is that if you're signing up for BrainHQ through your insurance plan, the correct registration link for BrainHQ will be available through your provider. So, here we are on the BrainHQ homepage. In order to sign up with BrainHQ, we go ahead and start by clicking the sign up button. And now we are going to take the opportunity to fill in our email address and password. And through the power of video editing, I've gone ahead and filled that in very quickly. I'm going to go ahead and click sign up. And now it's going to ask for first and last name. During the registration process, you may also be asked to enter a member ID or some sort of membership number or something similar to that. Now that we have our first and last name entered, we're going to go ahead and click sign up again. And now the BrainHQ site is going to give us a questionnaire. So this questionnaire is designed to put the user into the kinds of exercises that they want to be working on when they first come to BrainHQ. So BrainHQ adapts to you, delivering the best set of exercises to improve your brain health. So to start, let us know what you're most interested in improving. Your answer here will determine which of the 3 tutorial exercises you're given once you are done with the questionnaire. For the purposes of this tutorial, I'm going to go ahead and select brain speed. All right, so now the site wants to know what aspects of brain speed we are interested in. We can check as many of these boxes as we want. I'm going to go ahead and say visual brain speed just as an example, and then click on next. All right, and then year of birth. This is going to be useful when calculating percentiles that are age adjusted, just to see how you're training compared to other users your age. Pick a random year. Here we go. All right, so let's help out our scientists. So there are a couple of different options here. Why do you want to do the training with BrainHQ? So we want to know if you're training to give yourself a cognitive edge, if you are trying to prevent decline over time. Maybe you've noticed that you're getting a little bit slower and you want your cognitive functions back to where they used to be, or maybe you are recovering from an injury or a condition. All right, so for the purposes here, I'm going to go ahead and select on cognitive edge. And that's it. Pretty quick and easy questionnaire here. And so because I had selected brain speed as the thing that I wanted to improve on, I am now taken to the brain speed exercise called Hawkeye. So there are a couple of reasons why we use Hawkeye as one of our first-time user experience exercises. The first is that Hawkeye is generally pretty easy to understand for new users who maybe haven't had exposure to other exercise or game-like scenarios on a computer. There is a tutorial that we're going to be going through that will walk you through every step of the way, sort of explaining everything as you go. And it really provides context to sort of what to expect from the rest of the BrainHQ program. The other reason why we have Hawkeye as one of these exercises that we start off users on is because Hawkeye is part of our brain speed category within BrainHQ, and brain speed is really foundational to cognition in general. So brain speed is something that allows us to process all of the information that's happening around us, both visual and auditory. And so being able to train with brain speed exercises first will really give you a good foundation for moving on to other exercises from our other categories later. All right, so let's go ahead and click Start to begin. So take a look at the bird below. When you start the exercise, this bird will appear somewhere on screen for a short time. When you're ready to move on to the next set of instructions, look for the big glowing button in the top right corner and click it. So our task is to click the location where the bird appears. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like by clicking Start. Okay, so the bird appeared on screen for a brief period of time, it disappeared, and now we are able to make a selection, and we know this because when we move the cursor around the screen different portions of the screen become highlighted. So let's go ahead and click the area where the bird had appeared. Okay, great. So that ding sound means that we got it right. It means that we've taken the first step to exercising our brain speed, which is a foundational part of cognitive function, and it's something that we use every day to react to and remember events that are happening around us. Additionally, that ding sound is going to work as positive reinforcement, letting you know that you got it right. It's really going to work on driving home the fact that you are answering correctly, you're doing a good thing, you're getting those chemicals released in your brain telling you this is something that you want to repeatedly keep doing. All right, so let's start another. Okay, bird appeared on screen, then disappeared. Okay, we heard that ding sound again, we got it right. Great first step. This time, the exercise is going to start adding more birds to act as distractors. So our task here is to look for this target bird, which is going to be distinctly different from the other birds. In this case, our target bird has an orange body and sort of darker wings and a darker head and tail. And all of the distractor birds, which are identical to one another, have more of a reddish body and then sort of lighter gray wings. All right, so now that we've figured out what the differences are, let's go ahead and click on this next button. All right, so all of the birds are going to briefly appear on screen, and our task is to find the one that is different and click where it had appeared. So the different bird is what I'm referring to as the target bird, just for clarity. So most people are going to find visual discriminations like this easy when they have plenty of time, but it gets much more difficult when the birds appear on screen for less amount of time. So let's go ahead and start at a relatively slow pace here. Okay, so a couple birds on screen this time. Our target bird was down here in this section. Heard that ding, got it right. So as you use this exercise, you're working out your brain speed and visual precision, and so as you get better, one of the ways the exercise is going to want to challenge you is by having the birds flash on screen for a shorter amount of time. The goal is to gradually push your brain to become faster and sharper, but just to clarify, you don't need to respond any faster. It's not a timed trial per se. The birds are just going to be appearing on screen for shorter amounts of time, but you can take as much time to provide an answer as you need. All right, so let's go ahead and start another. Okay, great. So a couple more target birds this time, and they were on screen for a slightly shorter amount of time, but I believe our target bird was up here. Okay, great. So like I said, the birds were on screen for a shorter amount of time, and that's going to happen gradually as you are performing well in an exercise. So the exercise gets a little bit harder in order to challenge your brain. It will keep getting faster, where the birds will keep appearing on screen for shorter amounts of time until you hit what's called your threshold, which is when the exercise is challenging, but not impossible. If you are training with an exercise and find that you are getting 100% of the questions correct, then you're not actually challenging your brain, and you're not getting really any benefit from doing that kind of training. You actually want to be training at a place where you're getting about 80% of the questions correct and 20% of the questions incorrect. And all of the BrainHQ exercises are adaptive. So it wants you training at this sort of 80-20 threshold is what we like to call it. We want to make sure that the exercise is challenging, but it's not impossible. If you're getting too many questions wrong, then that can discourage you from coming back to training, which is something that we don't want to happen. But if you're getting all of the questions right, then there's not really any benefit being gained. So, improving the speed and accuracy of your brain is vital to improving memory and attention. Let's go ahead and do another trial here. All right, so we had a bunch of birds on screen, and they appeared for a much shorter amount of time than last time. But again, we can take our time to click the right location. I believe our target bird was down here, so I'm going to go ahead and click there. Okay, good. Got that ding sound. Now it's going to want us to do a couple more trials. All right, and I believe that last target bird was here. Okay, great. So now we are going to be moving into the exercise proper. The tutorial just wants you to know that there's going to be a bar at the top of the exercise that will tell you how you're doing. So this is going to be what we call the progress bar. So as you answer correctly, there are going to be arrows that move to the right and the exercise will speed up. If you get questions wrong, then the arrows will move to the left and the exercise will slow down accordingly. If you answer right enough times, you're going to earn stars, and the better your performance, the more stars you earn. So let's take a look at that. Okay, so here's the progress bar. There are a couple of features that are not shown because we haven't started the exercise yet, but I do want to draw your attention over to the left top corner here. So this number inside the star shape tells us how many stars we've earned. Since we haven't started this exercise, that number is going to be 0. And then under that, it says 15 turns left. So that tells you approximately how much time you're going to be spending on this exercise. So that means that there are going to be like 15 trials or 15 questions or 15 turns that you need to answer in order to complete this level. Let's take a look at our target bird. Same as it was during the tutorial, and all of our distractor birds, same as before as well. So let's go ahead and click start. All right, I believe our target bird was over here. Okay, great. So a couple of things happened very quickly up at the top of the screen. So now that we're in the exercise, I can sort of explain a little bit more about that. So the first thing that happened was as soon as we got the question right, we earned 1 star. So BrainHQ wants to always award you for attempting an exercise. So as long as you get at least 1 question right, you're going to earn at least 1 star. If ever there's a exercise that you run into where somebody is unable to get 1 question right, then generally there's a misunderstanding of the instructions of the exercise. And so we don't want to have that count against you in your progress metrics. So we don't count exercises that you've trained with unless you've gotten at least 1 of the questions correct. Under that, we now see that there are 14 turns left. We answered 1. That number is going to keep going down until we get to 0, and that's when we've completed the exercise. All right, so a little bit more about these sort of graphics up here in the progress bar. So this circle is sort of a representation of how we're doing in the exercise. So as we get questions correct, these arrows to the right of this circle will turn green. When both of them turn green, this circle will move up to this next vertical line. This vertical line is what we call a step. It is a way to visually signify that the exercise is getting more challenging. So when both of these turn green, this little circle will move up to the next step, and the birds will start appearing on screen for a slightly less amount of time. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and answer. I believe our target bird was down here in this section, but keep your eye on that circle in the top at the progress bar. Okay, great. So you should have seen the second arrow light up. This whole figure moved up to this next step, and now we have a blank slate. So if we start getting questions right, these arrows are going to turn green, and then if I ever get a question wrong, this arrow on the left side will turn red, and then this whole structure will move back down a step. The exercise is going to get easier for us. All right, so let's go ahead and do a couple trials here. So one thing that I do want to note is that if you are having difficulty seeing some of the birds on screen, that is likely a computer recording issue. So when you are doing the training, the exercises will fully download ahead of time, so you don't have to worry about buffering or loading issues in the middle of an exercise. If you're having difficulty seeing the birds on screen now, then that should not be an issue when you or your members are doing the exercises yourselves. All right, so we've got 3 turns left. We are sitting on our second star, so if we get this question right, we'll have earned 2 stars. And we got it. And so now we see up in that top corner, the number 2, which means that we got 2 stars. I don't think I caught the bird this time around, so I'm going to go ahead and guess. Nope, that's okay. So actually, that's a really good example. If when you're training, you earn, say 2 stars like I just did, and then get a couple of questions incorrect, BrainHQ is still going to give you full credit for that 2-star performance. It's going to record what we call your peak score. So it's absolutely okay to get a couple of questions wrong. And in fact, we encourage it in some cases. If an exercise is moving too fast for you to keep up with, then it's okay to purposefully get questions wrong just so that way the exercise knows to slow down. Okay, so we've earned 2 stars for that round. So BrainHQ is going to want you to either meet or beat your score. So let's go ahead and check out this little summary screen here. So we've earned 2 stars. We need 3 stars to advance. So let's go back and then try and get that 3rd star. All right, so we are back here at this page. We can see that it's the start of an exercise because there are 0 stars right now and we have 15 turns left. Target bird and distractor birds are the same as before. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right, starting off at a pretty quick pace. So when you go back and retrain with a level in BrainHQ, it's going to start you off relatively at the same level that you were training with previously. So if you had earned a 2-star performance, it's going to start you a little bit slower than a 2-star performance, just to make sure that you're getting warmed up. One other thing to note, I know we talked about getting a wrong answer earlier. If you get a wrong answer, you're going to hear a bonk sound. Here, let me get this star and then I'll give you an example. So I believe our target bird was down here in this section. So let's go ahead and get this question wrong. So whenever you get a question wrong, you're going to hear a little bonk sound. It's going to show where the correct bird was or the correct section that you should have been clicking on instead. We would always encourage you to guess if you don't know what the answer to a given trial is. There are going to be some cases where you guess like I did just there, and you're going to get it right. And that's because sometimes your brain has a funny way of processing information subconsciously that you consciously aren't aware of. So if ever you are training with an exercise and you're like, I'm not sure if I caught where that actually was, go ahead and give it a guess. There's a good chance that you'll still get it right. All right, can we get this 4th star? Let's see. Aha, got it. Okay, so we have earned 4 stars. So we've collected a total of 6 stars, which was 3 more than we needed, which is fantastic. So let's go ahead and continue. All right, and so now we're taken to this little brief summary screen. We can see that we trained with that level twice, and we scored, fairly well the first time we did it, and then the second time we did it, we earned more stars. And we can see that we earned a total of 6 stars across those 2 levels. So let's go ahead, when in doubt of where to click next, click the big button. And since this is our first time using BrainHQ, we are taken to a session complete screen. So this session complete screen is going to give you a summary of your training for the day. So in this case, because this is the first time user experience, it only expects you to do the 1 level in your first sitting, just because the tutorial takes a long time, and we want to make sure that you're doing training incrementally so that way you don't get burned out at first. So we can see here, we've trained with 1 level, we've trained for 1 day in a row. We earned 6 stars in the brain speed category, which is what this B stands for. And our activity quotient has increased by 82 points. Now, for more information about that, we have some information here at the bottom of the screen, sort of explaining all of that information. And then when you're done, you can go ahead and click on the arrow here, and then it will take you back to the main training page. So that's going to conclude the first time user experience. From here on out, the user, when they log into BrainHQ, they are either going to click on exercises to hand select an exercise that they want to work on, or they can click here In this case, because my particular account is unlicensed, it's showing me the daily spark, which unlocks one new exercise level every day. But for users that are going to be licensed, there's going to be an option here called the personal trainer that will queue up exercises for them automatically. And that is our most used training feature on the BrainHQ site. Now, if you or any of your members have any questions, feel free to use the help button in the left top corner here. That will take you to our frequently asked questions page. You can also go to that page to send us a message. And our customer support team has a really, really great history of getting back to tickets within 24 business hours. All right, well, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this tutorial. And so I will say to you, happy brain training.